This is Maurice Jones-Drew, and you're listening to the What's Bruin Show.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, UCLA, fight.
You're listening to the What's Bruin Show, part of the What's Bruin Show Network, with your hosts, Jake Merrifield, Bill Shirley, Jamaal Artis, and Mike Regalado, bringing you anything and everything UCLA sports. And now, it's time for the What's Bruin Show.
Well, hello and welcome to the What's Bruin Show. I am your host, Jake Merrifield, and I'm coming to you live from the Oakland Homewood Suites on the Embarcadero to bring you the most janky of all janky podcasts in relation to UCLA's 16-13, a stunning 16-13, gritty performance by our gutty little Bruins out in Hawaii, bringing home a victory, 1-0, game one. Didn't cover, but they won, and that's really all that matters at this point. Anyways, it's going to be the most janky of all janky postcasts. It's the most janky postcast I will give you this year in the 2024 season because I'm on the road. And I brought all my podcasting equipment. I did it all, but, you know, after a day of watching my daughter in her first performance with the Cal Golden Bear Band, the Straw Hat Band. She was out in the field marching around, doing a bunch of complicated maneuvers. Very proud of her. Performed in the pregame and halftime, and then marched down and did a cool thing after the game as well at Sathergate. That kind of took up a lot of time. And then I was able to watch the UCLA first half on a cell phone and then get back to my daughter's apartment, Megatron's apartment, for the second half and watch the whole second half, which was better for the Bruins, by the way, from our apartment that she has up here in Berkeley. Bring the game home, tie it up 13-13, and then get the game-winning field goal with former Golden Bear Mateen Begani, my MVP. 9 points for the young man. Just fucking nails. If this was last year, and this was a characteristic Chip Kelly non-con game, this would have been a loss. Wouldn't have been a win. And we would have gone 0 for 4 for field goals. But no. Mateen Begani to the rescue. 9 points out of 16 for that young man.
Straight baller.
And then the other 7 for another transfer. Good old Rico Suave. I wish I had the drop right now. But the Bruins win. And are we all happy? I know I'm happy. But it might be because I've already had a Manhattan and a old-fashioned and 3 German sausages at my favorite restaurant in the world, at least right now. Brotzeit Lokal up here in the Oakland waterfront. You may hear what happens to sound like a child being murdered, but it's just some Oakland kid or some kid visiting Oakland swimming around in the Homewood Suites swimming pool. So if that is coming through on your speaker, I apologize, but I mean, it's like 10 o'clock at night and them kids are still in the pool. But it's the What's Bruin Show Network it's the What's Bruin Show on the What's Bruin Show Network. On Twitter, at What's Bruin Show. Emails, what'sbruinshow@gmail.com. Patreon.com/what'sbruinshow or what'sbruinshow.com. What'sbruin.substack.com. Support us, this independent pirate ship, for, somewhere in the neighborhood of $2 a month. We appreciate your support. Thank you very much. You can check the show notes for WBSN merch on a My Liker site. And, of course, you can call the hotline, 805-399-4WBS, Second Ranch Troy. They got their game tomorrow at LSU. Going to do a little bit of LSU scouting for a couple weeks from now. But after this game with the Bruins in Hawaii, does it really matter? I don't know. At least I got the win, folks. But call the hotline. I don't know. Let me see if I got any calls on the hotline. I'm checking right now. Probably got a couple. Loved if I did. I got at least 2. Love that. That's good. So we'll get the hotline calls in a minute. But thank you for joining the show. Once again, I brought the whole podcast spread to do a show, but here I am on a cell phone, and that's going to be good enough for tonight. I got a cell phone. I have a half of an orange flavored chocolate bar. I have about 2/3 a bottle of Crown Royal Rye and a cup of ice, and that's going to get us through the night. That's how it's going to go. So without further ado, let's get to this, what we are going to call a game with a happy ending. Very happy for that happy ending. So the Bruins managed to win this game over the Rainbow Warriors, 16-13. They're trailing by 10 at the half. At halftime, it was about as depressing of a game as you could possibly want if you were a Bruin fan. You know, coming into the season, I was very optimistic because of the players that UCLA had returning. You know, they got Ethan Garbers, who we talked about being fully under the radar, but playing pretty darn good last year in the time that he actually played. Very efficient, super high percentage on his passing, high yards per attempt, and like a bunch of touchdowns and only one interception, I want to say. And it was just an efficient dude that ran the offense. Could you call him a game manager? Absolutely. But he was a guy that was going to, keep the chains moving and score some points for the Bruins. And if you had an offense that was set up to those strengths, I think that he can execute that, okay? Smash cut to the first half of this game, and, everything was trying to go deep or a pass behind the line of scrimmage. They can't run the ball. It was an absolute, just unmitigated disaster. I think at the first half, by the end of the game, UCLA actually ends up having stats that compare relatively well with Hawai'i. 19 first downs to 18. They outrushed Hawai'i. They outpassed Hawai'i. Total yards 343 to 278. And the stats don't look nearly as out of whack. I mean, Hawai'i punted more times than the Bruins did by the end of the game. But the first half, completely out of whack. And that's because this offense that Eric Bieniemy has decided to run out there was apparently designed to not take advantage of any of the strengths of anybody on the team, I guess, except for hoping for a hope and a prayer sort of deep down the field throws to, your great receivers, J-Mike and the like. I don't get it. I will tell you, last year, my only reservation, and I just listened to my Postgame podcast about the Las Vegas Bowl from last year, and I was kind of recapping my thoughts on Ethan Garbers, because, like I just said, he was a game manager, but he was very efficient at doing that. But the one concern we had was, is this the guy that can push the ball down the field and take advantage of the deep threats that you have? The Jake Michael Sturdivants, the Titus Mokiao, Olio Malala, and all that stuff, right? Well, today, in the first half, that's all they tried to do. There was no, taking advantage of the stuff he actually can do, and it was just 5-step drop, 7-step drop, let's let the guy drop back there and let the line block for a million years just so he could, overthrow somebody downfield or try to push the ball downfield. I don't know what it was. If that's the way the play was designed, it is the wrong thing. I came into the season fairly optimistic about what the Bruins could be, because they're bringing back Garbers. They're bringing back all the receivers. They're bringing back Harden. They're bringing back Keegan Jones. They're bringing back an offensive line that, even though it was widely disparaged by many of you out there, it wasn't half bad. It was pretty darn good blocking for the run. And on offense, it was perfectly fine if you weren't Dante Moore back there not knowing who to freaking throw through. Could it be better? Yeah. But were they that bad? No. But this first half offense was just as bad as it could possibly be. It looked like a bunch of dudes out there that were overthinking things, didn't know what to do, didn't know where to be, and the only time it got anything going was on some sort of improvisational play. I think I tweeted something at halftime about, being worried about Ethan Garbers being the throw deep last year, and now I'm just like, please, just make it a little easier for him. give him some easy throws to make, which he can do, and if it's not open, then just scramble down the field. Their best offensive play in the first half in this game was the misdirection, handoff, Ethan Garber scrambles for 8. After that, it was all downhill. That was the first play of the goddamn game. So by the time we got to halftime, and Hawaii's up 10-0. And by the way, I don't think the defense played horrible in that half. I said it on our show. I thought it was likely the Bruins would have a game kind of like Hawai'i had, where they're kind of getting the kinks out and all that stuff, and maybe misfiring a little bit on offense. And that's exactly how it went. And when I watched Hawaii's defense last week, I thought that they actually played pretty well in the first half, but their offense let them down so dramatically, so completely, so emphatically, that they ended up giving up some points to Delaware that they shouldn't have given up. Well, guess what? The same fucking thing with Hawai'i. Hawai'i tried to gift the Bruin offense's points in the first half with how many personal fouls and penalties and whatnot. It was unbelievable. They had 2 calls that could have been targeting. They ended up being one unnecessary roughness and one review for targeting that wasn't upheld, but they flip a coin on those. Hawai'i was coming out hitting hard, but also playing recklessly and trying to give the Bruins points. And to their credit, the Bruins couldn't take advantage of it, and that aggression really set the tone for the first half. It took a while for the Bruins to adjust. Now on defense, I thought the Bruins played well. Hawai'i was able to score on a drive in which they had to have a bullshit, and by the way, it was a great call by Chang. That fake punt there was perfect. It was perfect, and it was something to do when you're kind of rolling out all the stops, let it all hang out, yada, 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 and you get a 4th down, then you get a 1st down off of that, and then they just march right in the end zone. But other than that, Hawai'i got 3 points in that first half, that whole first half, because the defense was playing well. Malo, I don't know how many other, I don't know. I don't want to label Hawai'i as a good offense. I'm not doing that. But as far as like offenses in the Big Ten, how many dynamic offenses are they going to face to where they're really going to be challenged? I don't know. I mean, other than the 3-game stretch, or at the beginning of the season, I should say, how much are they really going to be challenged by some of these offenses? I think Malo showed that he's up to the task already. I was perfectly pleased with how the defense played. But oh my God, the Bruins are going nowhere if this offense is going to look like that. And to their credit, in the second half, they came out and they really did turn the tables on Hawai'i, but it wasn't anything explosive. They come out in the second half, they start to, take some easy things first. And that's when the stats really tilted back even. By the end of the game, this really was an even game on paper. 19 first downs for the Bruins, 18 for Hawai'i. 346 yards for the Bruins, 278 for Hawai'i. It wasn't an offensive masterpiece by either team, really. They both were kind of trash. But it was all Hawai'i in the first half and all UCLA in the second. And we'll take that because that, turned out to be a UCLA victory. And, and that was fine. But it was like the big plays the Bruins made were on like the garbage. And by the way, garbage can do that. He can scramble a little bit and then make something out of nothing. But God, in the first half, he was trying to make something out of nothing, and it turned into horrible mistakes. He threw one ball out of bounds that was a very, very dangerous play. He got away with it. Well, guess what? He didn't get away with it the second time, and he throws that ball trying to get out of the safety in the first half right to a Hawai'i player. Not good. But by the end of the game, the Bruins did end up, showing that they aren't completely incapable. Garbers ends up at like a 50%, not good, but 272 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, unbelievable. But the biggest, I will say this about the offense and the defense and Foster is that they came in to the half down 10-0. They come out and they made adjustments. The way they were playing the Hawai'i offense was completely different in the second half from the first, and it made a difference, right? I thought they didn't do horribly against Hawai'i in the first half, but they did way better against Hawai'i, the UCLA defense versus the Hawai'i offense in the second half. And the UCLA offense, as bad as it was in the first half, They made some adjustments. They came out and they got things done in the second half. They completely dominated the second half. And so you want to see a silver lining? Well, there is that. They actually were able to adjust. So they got that going for them, I guess. So by the end of the game, it's a game that was kind of a rock fight, but the Bruins are able to win because, shockingly, they had a special teams edge. Okay, fine. They had a defensive edge. Okay, fine. And their offense kind of sort of found something to do as the game got to the end. But oh my God, if this is what the UCLA offense is this year, like, we're in the worst possible timeline scenario. This is not going to go well. And the most alarming thing about it, like, 4-alarm fire, sound the klaxons, this is bad, this is very bad, OMG, what the F is going on, is how bad the Bruins run the ball. This is a unit that last year, with the same personnel pretty much, was very proficient at running the ball. And they were absolutely terrible today. And I think a big part of that is how they're trying to run the ball. Just like in the first half, they're trying to take way too much with way too, trying to throw the ball way too deep, way too much. It's not Kenny Stabler in the 70s Oakland Raiders. Please. In the same way, they're trying to run this crap zone plays where Harden gets the ball and he's taking a couple steps and I don't think he knows where to go. When they actually give him the ball with a little bit of momentum moving forward, he actually got a little bit done. I'm real curious to see how they look in a couple weeks against Indiana, but I think this run game needs to be moving forward as opposed to laterally. And I think if they just hit it hard early, they can have more success. But all of the dancing wasn't doing anybody favors. You would hope that your head coach being Deshaun Foster, a very good running backs coach, and your offensive coordinator being Eric Bieniemy, a former really good running back, it might turn into something good down the line. But oh my God, that rushing attack was as bad as we have seen it in years at UCLA. But in the end, this is a much better game for the Bruins in that they escaped with a victory rather than they were beat by Hawaii. If they got beat by Hawaii, if you look at the other Big Ten scores, this would have been the big bad one. Washington's up right now, 21-0. Iowa rolled, Maryland rolled, Purdue rolled, Penn State rolled, Nebraska rolled, Ohio State rolled, Northwestern squeaked out a game against Miami, Ohio. Indiana, won by 20-plus points. Oregon was in a dogfight against Idaho. I didn't look at that game yet, but, whatever. Nobody's doubting Oregon yet. Michigan kicked the shit out of Fresno State. Late, they had a touchdown or whatever. Rutgers rolled. Illinois rolled. Minnesota lost to North Carolina. That's like one of the only Big Ten teams that played anybody. Michigan State squeaked out a game against Florida Atlanta. And Wisconsin beat Western Michigan. But, so what I'm saying is that the only Big Ten team to lose so far was a Big Ten team playing another Power 5 or Power 4 opponent. So if UCLA loses this game, they go from being anonymous to being like the disgrace of the Big Ten already and fulfilling a lot of the predictions that everybody had for them. So just avoiding that loss is, everything. Now they can take the bye week, regroup, and hopefully come back against Indiana and win that game. And then, like I said, then they're probably going to be 0-3 with that. But at least they're, at par. They managed to lose this game. And, like I said, I'm texting Jamaal and Bill and Mike and Jim that, or Michael and Alicia and a bunch of other people coming out of the woodwork asking me how I'm feeling about this game. They lose this game, and now all of a sudden 0-12 is, a very real possibility, because you're just like, they lose this game like this with this offense being this dreadful, like, now all of a sudden forget about it, right? There's no bad outcome that isn't real. Worst possible timeline stuff. But they didn't. They won the game. They get a chance to go into the bye week, figure some stuff out, and hopefully acquit themselves much better against Indiana. And they have the chance to be 1-0 in the Big Ten, 2-0 overall, before going on the LSU, Oregon, Penn State trip. So I said this was going to be janky. It is janky, but there you go. So let's get on to the ballers. I mean, there is number one baller, and of course that is Mateen Bagani. 9 points for the Bruins, 3 and 3 from field goal.
Straight baller.
It just, you can't overstate his impact on this game enough from that respect. If they don't have him, they do not win this game. Okay. Other ballers, I'm going to give Ethan Garbers a baller just because he hung in there and he made some plays down the stretch. He made some bad plays early. I don't know if this offense was doing him any favors, and obviously they had to learn this whole thing coming into this year, and it's like been my biggest worry is this thing too complicated? Are they trying to do too much? I don't know. But by the end of the game, Ethan made enough of the plays to win the game, and there you go. Ethan Garbers, you're a baller, dude. I don't care. 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Psh, big deal.
Just a baller, man.
He still had almost 300 yards. Good enough for me. Rico Flores, that touchdown catch, gets over 100 yards. Welcome to the transfer from Notre Dame. I wish I had my drops right now, which I do. I just didn't unpack them. But Rico Suave, all the freaking way.
He's just a baller, man.
Other than that, on offense, I don't know. I liked how they were trying to go to J-Mike, but it didn't really turn out to be too much. So we'll just, I guess, leave that there. Oh, I will say, you know what? Whatever. Offensive line, they're ballers too. Just a baller, man.
Straight baller.
And you say, well, how could it be that? They scored 13 goddamn points. Well, they're learning this new stupid offense too. And you say, how could it be? They rushed for like 14 yards. And TJ Harden got tackled behind the line of scrimmage like 15 times. Well, to me, that's on EB. And he needs to sort that shit out. But I do know they tried to drop Ethan Garbers back there on a freaking 7-step drop like 10 times. And the freaking Rainbows came away with 1 sack that entire goddamn game. So you know what? The offensive line did enough to win this game. And hopefully they're only going to get better. So, whatever. Take that for what you will. I might be biased. I like the offensive line. Really, though, the ballers. Dude, Jay Toya, Keanu Williams. Keanu Williams had a huge sack. They hit that dang Rainbow Warrior quarterback a bunch of times. Had him hurt within the first couple of drives. That definitely affected how they played. We were worried about, could the Bruin defense generate enough pressure? Well, the play of the game was a sack that they got with 3 guys. That was huge, okay? Absolutely huge. So, defense played well. Opening game on the road, you give up freaking 10 points or 13 points, whatever it was. We'll take it. Also, DJ Justice out there makes some plays.
Straight baller.
K. Madrano makes some plays.
Just a baller, man.
Wallace out there making some plays.
Straight baller.
I think they all look pretty darn good playing on the defense, and that's one place where I am very optimistic about the Bruins. But those are your ballers. It's 10:30. It's in Oakland. I'm staring at the channel here on the Embarcadero. Those kids are finally going to bed. That's good. But, just a baller, man. Those are the ballers. I think I said what I got to say. Now we're going to get to the calls. Let's see what the calls have to say, and then we'll go from there.
Hey, Jake. Thanks for doing the show. Calling in, Leo from Long Beach. Just leaving the stadium. It was exciting at the end, but, man, it was so hot out here in Hawaii. And the first half, just really uninspired. So I hope they take the opportunity during bye week to improve and do something against Indiana. Anyway, it was cool. A lot of UCLA fans out here. Even the school sent a pep band. That was really cool. So we'll see how they do against Indiana for our home opener. All right. Bye.
Thank you for the call, Leo. I hope you have a really good trip back, and kudos to you for getting out there to Hawaii. I hope you're having a great time in Hawaii. But you're right, it was an uninspired first half, but they rallied. They outscored the Bows 13-0 in the second half and win the game, or 16-3 in the second half, I should say. But they win the game. and that's what counts. And they do have a couple weeks to work out the kinks and then hopefully beat an Indiana team. God, if they score 16 points, if they score less than, I don't know, let's set it at 28. Score less than 28 points, it's going to be depressing. Well, that might be a little high. Let's say 21 points. They got to get at least to 21 points, okay? They get to 21 points, maybe slow down the panic alarm, but, oh, my Lord, it was a little rough. All right, let's see who the next call was from.
Hey, fellas, what's up? It's Tony. I guess I don't have enough words to describe how ugly today was, but as you saw, the offensive line was absolutely terrible. Harden had no lanes. There were linebackers plugging holes. It was just ugly, and Garbers also looked terrible. Hopefully these guys will start turning it around in 2 weeks against Indiana, but rough start, still got the victory. We'll take the victory and call it a day, but hopefully we'll see some better offensive schemes and better play by the offensive line in a couple of weeks. I was pretty happy with the way the defense stepped up in the second half, looked a little bit better, but boy, we've got a lot of work to do, especially against a team like Hawaii, which we, at least in my mind, should have blown out. We had trouble with the run and shoot early on, but got the game under control late. Again, hoping that we step it up in a couple weeks because today was absolutely ugly. I'm sure the lines are lighting up left and right for you guys tonight, and can't wait to hear what you have to say about this week's game. Take care, guys. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Tony, thank you very much for the call. I do appreciate it. And the only thing I would say is, like, when you look at the offensive line, I think this is clearly a case of the offensive construction. When you look at the replays and you see that a linebacker's running free to a running back, filling a hole for the running back, to me, that's the play design. I know on a couple of those plays that, the guy meets Harden right in the hole. Maybe it's the case of, they have a double team on a guy and a guy is supposed to climb to the next level. But to me, it was much more a matter of they didn't have enough guys where they're trying to attack. And the defense has them outnumbered, and it's play design. This team, with mostly the same guys, was a very good running team last year. You switch out the coaches, and now all of a sudden they're terrible. Well, what changed? That's all I'll say about that. I would also say that I think Garber's struggles in the first half were directly related to he was holding on to the ball way too dang long. They were trying to take way too much of the time. Take the easy stuff, get down the field, and then take your shots off of that. If they can get to that sort of game plan, then I think that there's room for this offensive to grow. But if that's what the offense is, oh my God, what are we in for? All right, that's going to do it for this show. Once again, like I said, I apologize. I'm sitting here with a cell phone microphone plugged in on a patio of a Homewood Suites in front of a fire pit with a bottle of rye, just trying to process exactly what we saw for our first game for UCLA. But before the season started, I was like, it's kind of a bummer they have a bye week immediately after the first game. Now, this bye week, absolutely needed. Absolutely needed. They're probably going to improve dramatically from game 1 to game 2 because most teams do. I think that's where we can find our solace, is that they had a whole bunch of ideas about what they wanted to do and what they wanted to accomplish and what they were good at. It's kind of like fantasy football. I'll give a shout out to my guy, Chris Harris. We all have our mind palaces constructed in our head before the season starts. Kind of like a Muhammad Ali. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. But now, with the practical examination, we realize that some of this shit ain't going to work. So they got a week to get back in, decide what their strengths are or what their weaknesses are. These are not dumb guys. These are guys that have been in the NFL for a long-ass time. These are guys with a lot of experience coaching. So I guess we give them the benefit of the doubt and say, all right, well, we can figure out something that's going to work for us. And don't get me wrong, I like throwing the ball deep. I like taking advantage of the advantages that your personnel give you, like J. Mike and the other receivers. But it can't be every goddamn play. So, we'll see. All right, I'm sorry. I've talked long enough. I have to go edit this now and then enjoy the rest of my nice, long holiday weekend driving down the coast, which I hope you're doing something fun too. So if you have something to say before Tuesday night's show, please call the hotline, 805-399-4WS, Sacramento, Troy. Go Tigers tomorrow. Love you guys. But I hope LSU cleans your clocks. And me and Mike will be back with a show on Tuesday. And until then, God, whew, we escaped. The Bruins escaped 16-13 against Hawaii. Aloha, mahalo, all that good stuff. And until Tuesday, call the hotline and go Bruins.
Good evening.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
That was the What's Bruin Show.
Try us tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
It's gotta be in or out, Mom. In or out. Well, I need the door closed.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Dude, Rob, we play some ball on the West Coast.
The final word is boob.